Hello, and welcome back to another Dokkan battle video. So it is currently April Fool's, and I was kind of itching to make a concept card, so I tweeted out if anyone had any suggestions for some sort of small category you'd like to see help for. And my good pal over here, Phone over on Twitter, responded saying Otherworld Warriors. Now, Phone has been actively looking at these kind of things, and so have I, where it's like people making concepts and stuff and like kind of guessing concepts. So it was nice seeing them kind of give us a little suggestion here. And so what I decided to do was make an entire mini celebration based around this guy, Super Saiyan Kaioken Goku, just because I think it is something that I think could get a DOKKANFEST card. I mean, hell, if it's good enough for Legends Anniversary, it's good enough for a DOKKANFEST card. Now, whether that be like, I think it's just going to be regular, like a minor DOKKANFEST card, like just one of those like filler banners. But I think the Super Saiyan Kaioken form is cool enough to warrant a DOKKANFEST. So let's go ahead and go dive into this concept that I made here. So we have DOKKANFEST Super Saiyan Goku Angel Super Kaioken. His leader skill is Otherworld Warriors, Accelerated Battle, or Final Trump card, Key +3, HP Attack and Defense 170. He also gets an additional HP Attack and Defense 30% for characters who belong to the Full Power, Kamehameha, or Tournament Participant category. If you want to see what that looks like, here you go. There is some really good options in here. Of course, you got these guys, the Galar Gammas, you got the Super Saiyans, you got the other characters like Full Power Super Saiyan War Goku, MUI Goku, the new Buhan and Super Vegito EZAs, STRUI, right? Potential future EZAs in AGL Full Power Frieza, Tech Gogeta, right? There's some interesting stuff in here. You got the new Topo, the new Keto Plessa, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, God Goku, Piccolo Jr., right? There's a couple decent cards in here, especially once you start considering potential EZAs in the future. There's also like things way down here in the Super EZAs. In every single one of the units you pretty much see down here could potentially get a Super EZA, except for like the free-to-play ones. So there is potential for this kind of category. Now, realistically speaking, especially considering the question I asked and the one that Phone answered to, I wanted to kind of center this around Otherworld Warriors, but just allowing you to be able to use these other cards that are on these other categories to help fill out the team a little bit if you're missing spaces in this really terrible category that is Otherworld Warriors. So that's kind of the idea there behind the leader skill. And Super Saiyan Goku, Super Saiyan Kaioken Goku here, right? I wanted him to be the central damage carry of the team, and then the banner unit is going to be one of the more defensive units on the team. So you'll see what I mean when we get there. But this guy is essentially turbo offensive. I wanted him to be incredibly powerful with still a little bit of defensive mechanics himself. So his super attack effect here, Super Kaioken Kamehameha, massively raises attack and greatly raises defense for 1 turn, and then causes immense damage to enemy and stuns the enemy while sacrificing 5% HP. So he is going to be doing really good damage with this super attack effect. This is like I believe massively for a TUR card is probably the highest I think we've ever seen. I don't think we've ever seen anything higher than that on a TUR. So I really wanted this guy to be hitting stupidly hard on these attacks, because if we take a look at the Otherworld Warrior category, this is a thing for later that we're gonna talk about here. No one on this team is gonna be doing any damage, right? Sure, if you bring the other units from the category that I mentioned, probably like the Gammas, UI Goku, Buhan, Super Vegito, they could do damage, right? They can do a lot of damage really quickly. But specifically on the Otherworld Warrior category, you got nothing. This team is heavily lacking in damage, so I wanted a unit that's going to be able to come out, dish out these like 20 million plus attack stats really hard and kind of blitz through events. So that way, if you are running any of these like lower level Otherworld Warrior units, you're not going to be stuck in this event for that long, because this guy's going to blitz you straight out of it. I wanted this to be like kind of like the modern day version of Super Vegeta on release, even though now that Super Vegeta EZA'd, basically that kind of unit. So, passive skill, Key +2 and attack and defense 200%, plus an additional attack plus 150% and defense plus 50% when attacking. So again, he is hitting stupidly hard. Attacks are super effective against all types. That way he is unaffected by different types of like enemies. There are a couple AGL enemies in the game right now, and they do tend to be near the beginning stages of events. Some of them are near the end, as in like MUI Goku is AGL. Who else is AGL? There's the AGL Goku, or not Goku, AGL Gohan in the Ultimate Gohan, Beast Gohan fight. So there's a couple AGL units in the game, so I wanted him to be able to break through those guys. He gets attack and defense plus 20% and a chance to evade enemies' attacks plus 8% up to 40% per key sphere obtained. So in order to cap that out, I believe that is only 5 orbs. You can get all your dodge chance from there. And then, of course, he is also rainbow orb changing here, randomly changes key spheres of a certain type to rainbow. So that way he's able to create his own orbs and then use them in order to get not only his dodge chance, but also additional attack and defense at the start of turn. He gets a medium chance to evade enemies' attacks just straight out of the ability. So if you are able to get all 5 orbs, he will have 70% chance to dodge. I wanted to make that available to him because he's not going to have any other defensive mechanic besides just having raw stats. And then he's going to have this additional dodge chance, which I wanted to have. So it will kind of make him like an incredibly powerful like slot 2 unit because there are already slot 1 units on his team in the UI Goku's Super Vegeta or Super Vegito, and then a unit that we'll get to in a second. So I wanted him to have this ability to be able to be either floated or technically you could put him in slot 1 if you really wanted to and you wanted to bank on the 70% chance, but you do need to get those orbs to be able to do that. Then he launches an additional attack that has a high chance of becoming a super attack. So again, he's going to have basically an additional normal guaranteed, and for that normal to be a 50% chance to be another super attack. Again, those super attacks are going to hit stupidly hard. I might consider changing massively raises attack to greatly raises attack and defense, right? That way he's not hitting too hard, but these are both for 1 turn, so I just wanted that to be clear here. He gets an additional attack and defense plus 50% per super attack performed up to a max of 150%. Again, this is just to help his start of turn stats. And then again, it's going to all multiply into these massive attack stats that are doing like 30 million plus. When you have a character that's like meant to be on one of these bad categories, I know this is a Goku family unit, so you're going to be able to put him on pretty much any team, but I want this to specifically be the carry of the Otherworld Warrior team. Now, I didn't put any restrictions to Otherworld Warriors in his team, like in his like actual passive here. I could have, but I didn't want to do that. Just because I feel like limiting the DOKKANFEST unit is kind of annoying. Limiting banner characters and like sub-EZA characters makes more sense, but limiting the main headliner I feel like is kind of stupid. So while he is a Goku family unit and you're going to be able to splash him onto other Goku family-esque teams, I wanted this guy to be mainly focused on being a hard carry. So like I think he will be really solid on other teams because he's going to have ridiculously high stats and pumping out like 30 million attack stats. I wanted him to also be the Giga carry. He also, after performing 3 attacks in battle, disables attacked enemies' actions once per turn. So that the way I wanted that would be if like on the 3rd attack, right? If he does it in a single turn, that attack will do an attack break. Then on the next turn, his first attack will do an attack break, and then no other attacks in that turn will be an attack break, and then the same thing for every other turn after that. So he will get basically a free action break on his super attack effect after he does 3 attacks in battle. So I think that is pretty cool there as like an extra defensive mechanic for him. Then he has an active skill, Kaioken Rush, which can be activated once 4 or more attacks have been performed in battle once only. It massively raises his attack temporarily, causes ultimate damage to enemy, and all attacks become critical hits for 1 turn, and randomly changes 2 types of orbs to rainbow, or to STR rainbow excluded. So that way he's creating a large field of orbs. So on his active skill turn, he's going to pump out this massive damage attack and then proceed to collect a bunch of orbs and do 1 billion damage and preferably get you out of whatever phase you're going on. This is essentially my version of a team protector without it being a team protector. He's protecting the team by wiping the enemy off the face of the planet. That's my idea here. His links: Super Saiyan, Prepared for Battle, Kamehameha, Shocking Speed, Over No Flash, Otherworld Warriors, and Fierce Battle. I based it mainly off of the already existing Otherworld Warrior Goku, which I have over here. Right? It's basically the same link set except with Fierce Battle instead of Shattering the Limit. So he's not only a key battery, but he also has a couple offensive links. He is on all your standard Goku teams as well as tournament participants, Otherworld Warriors, Final Trump Card, Full Power. Right? And Accelerated Battle as well. Then we get to the banner unit, which I wanted to be this Pycon, specifically the one with his like hat off. This is called Agile Style Pycon, so I gave him that as a new name here, just to differentiate him from other Pycons. That way you can use them on the same team and they wouldn't like conflict with each other. So Agile Pycon's super attack effect here, Thunder Flash, greatly raises defense permanently, so he's greatly stacking. And then he causes supreme damage to the enemy, and then raises all other allies' attack and defense by 25% for 2 turns. So pretty decent super effect attack right there. Then his passive skill, he gets Ki +3, attack and defense 180%. That is roughly around the standard that I've seen the most recent banner units get. Cattle Plessa is kind of a different story. He gets 300%, but he's not getting that, obviously. So I kind of tried to weasel it around with like Golden Frieza, 18 and Krillin, and then King Vegeta, and they were sitting roughly into the 200%, 180 range. So I gave Pycon here 180 and 3 Ki just because his links are bad. He's going to want that Ki here. He gets an additional 80% defense within the same turn after receiving an attack, so you're probably going to want to slot him in slot 1 here. He gives Otherworld Warrior category allies Ki +3 and attack and defense 100, sorry, not 100, just 50%. So essentially, he is getting decent starter turn stats while also being a 50% support and 3 Ki for a really, really bad category. I feel like if you're going to give a support to a bad category, it has to be good. Otherwise, what's the point? He reduces damage received by 30%, just flatline. He then guards all attacks, an additional damage reduction of 40% when there's an ally who is a part of the Otherworld Warrior category attacking within the same turn. So again, I am limiting the banner unit to Otherworld Warriors, but not the main headliner, just because I feel like that makes a lot more sense, in my opinion. Just because I feel like limiting the actual Dokkanfest is really bad for the state of the Dokkanfest and will make them age worse. But limiting a banner unit is, I think, a little bit easier to do because it allows them to be stronger while not sacrificing any real power from them because they're not this super headliner that you're really going. And then to counteract Goku losing HP on the super attacks he's doing, which he can do up to 3, which is 15% HP lost within the turn, Pycon recovers 3% HP at the end of the turn for each attack received within the turn. So every single time he gets hit, that is 3% HP that he will add to your HP total that he'll recover once your turn is over. And that'll then, you'll heal up, and then in between turns is when that would proc. So I think that's pretty much a very interesting mechanic, especially if he's in slot 1. He's preferably going to get hit a few times, and that's just going to make it so that you're healing a lot of the HP that Goku is removing from you. His links here, Supreme Warrior, Shocking Speed, Gentleman, Experienced Fighters, Otherworld Warriors, Cold Judgment, and Fierce Battle. Pretty much just the same links as this Pycon here, as well as the other Dokkanfest Pycon. His categories were the Rivals, Otherworld Warriors, Saviors, Battle of Wits, Storied Figures, and Tournament Participants. Pretty much just all the regular Pycon links, or Pycon categories there. And then we move on to sub-EZAs. Now, I was initially going to make like a main EZA, but I didn't know who to pick for it because I initially was going to pick Frieza, Angel Frieza, but then I realized this would be a very physical heavy team and I didn't want to do that. So if you have a concept for the main EZA character to slot into here, please state your claim to whoever you want to EZA. But I did make 2 sub EZA kits for the old Pycon and Super Saiyan Kaioken Goku. So these 2 here. As you can see, they are different on Global and JP, so these are going to be based on the Japanese versions of these cards, which are just better overall. So hopefully when they do EZA on both versions, they will sync up their weirdness and their details. The only thing that cannot be changed unless they go in and change it like manually is their stats. The Global versions have way lower EZA stats than the Japanese versions will. So, okay, let's go ahead and jump into the EZA for this old Super Saiyan Kaioken Goku here. So his super attack, Super Kaioken Kamehameha, greatly raises attack and defense for 1 turn, causes supreme damage to enemy while sacrificing 3% HP, and then lowers enemy's attack. So pretty good super attack effect here. Again, there is more HP lowering, but again, a Pycon should be healing a lot of HP back. So this Goku's passive skill, Thundering Aura, is Ki +4 and attack and defense 150% at the start of turn, an additional attack and defense 50% when performing a super attack, a medium chance to dodge enemies' attacks, including super attack, flatline, so he has 30% chance to dodge, which I think is nice. He gets the more HP remaining you have, the greater the attack and defensive boost received within the turn, up to 100%. There should be a percent here. Percent. He gives Accelerated Battle category allies Ki +1 and attack and defense 30%. He gets an additional dodge chance plus 5% per Accelerated Battle category ally on the team. That goes up to roughly 35% dodge chance, and then when in slots 1 or 2 at the beginning of the turn, he gives attack and defense plus 20% for all allies for 2 turns, except for himself. So I wanted this guy to be kind of like a mini version of the DOKKANFEST that I came up with, while also being a support for a different, smaller category than PyCon was. So I think it's kind of like an interesting little thing. He can potentially give 50% support to some of his teammates, and if they're not on accelerated battle, they will still be getting those that 20% attack and defense for 2 turns, which I think is nice. I did want to play around here. This is the same mechanic that the LR, Trunks, and Broly have, and that is essentially at the start of the turn, wherever, if you float them off, or if you have him in slot 2, he will give that support. So I think it's an interesting little way to play around with your rotations and to be more conscious of it. So I think he's a pretty solid unit. Don't ask me about stats or nothing. I'm not wheezed in the mathematics of Dokkan battle. But let's just go ahead and talk about EZA int PyCon here. His Thunder Flash attack greatly raises defense for 1 turn, causes supreme damage to enemy, and greatly lowers attack and defense. Now, if you look at this guy currently in the game, he is technically built for lowering the enemy stats. So I went all in on that, especially because this is a sub EZA. I want him to be good, but in a specific niche. And his niche is lowering enemy stats. So his passive skill, Otherworld Champion's Prestige, Key +2 and attack and defense 150% at the start of turn, an additional attack and defense 50% when attacking. All enemies get attack and defense minus 50%, which is a really, really good thing. You can just throw this guy on any event that can have their attack and defense lowered, and he's going to be able to help. And then already, when attacking an enemy in the attack down or defense down status, launches an additional super attack and seals the attacked enemy. When attacking an enemy that is sealed, so again, he's going to be able to proc this off of himself, he performs a guaranteed critical hit and stuns the attacked enemy. So he is going to be able to apply all 4 main types of debuffs to a single target. I essentially wanted this to be what I wanted out of Int Oceanus' EZA that we did not receive. So this is like better Int Oceanus, but it's PyCon, right? And he's very, very limited to his terrible categories. So I wanted him to be really, really good in those instances. Off lead, you might be able to still run this guy in like Super Battle Road. Actually, probably not Super Battle Road, because you literally can't do that. But in events that can be attack and defensive lowered, if they can be done immediately, like the Blue Kaioken fight, you could probably use this guy to extreme success. And then he also gets damage reduction plus 5% per Otherworld Warrior or Battle of Wits category ally on the team, whichever you have the most of. I think it's an interesting little concept for a sub EZA that is entirely focused around nerfing your enemy. If you can do that, he'll be really helpful. So I do like the way this guy's kit came out. Again, it was pretty much based around frustrations from Int Oceanus' poor EZA last year. Now moving into free-to-play cards, we have Olibu, which is a card that is not currently in the game. Now, Olibu does play a part in the Otherworld Warrior tournament. He also shows up for some reason against Golden Metal Cooler. We're not talking about that, right? This is just Olibu. He's just a guy, right? He is described as an Earthling, so he would be on the Earthling category. I didn't know what other categories to put him on, but we'll get there when we get there. So Olibu's super attack is the Energy Ball, which gives him 30% attack and defense for 4 turns, causes supreme damage to enemy, and lowers attack. Now, he is not EZA'd here. I'm saving that for later down the line, so I made him good now, and he'll EZA later, right? He gets Key +2 and attack and defense 120%. Otherworld Warriors category allies get Key +1 and attack and defense 30%, so already pretty solid. He randomly changes key spheres of a certain type to rainbow, which is good. He gets an additional attack and defense 30% when collecting 3 or more key spheres. He gets 30% chance to dodge and an additional attack that has a medium chance to become a super attack when collecting 5 or more key spheres. And then he reduces damage received to all allies by 5% when collecting 7 or more key spheres. So he's nothing crazy. He's like this little free-to-play card that can give your allies damage reduction. He has some dodge chance, right? He could potentially do 3 super attacks in the turn. He can lower attack, and he is supporting this bad category while Rainbow Orb changing. So I wanted him to be kind of like how Tiana Master Roshi were on release. So there's a nice little free-to-play card that you can run. Their stats are going to be a little bit low, but when they do EZA, they'll be really, really good. I wanted to create the foundation first, and then if later down the line he were to EZA, he would be really, really powerful then. His links: Otherworld Warriors, Supreme Warrior, Experienced Fighters, Shocking Speed, Tough as Nails, Cold Judgment, and Shattering the Limit. I wanted him to work mainly well with Icon characters and stuff like that, just because I feel like I don't know what other links they would really give this guy. Maybe Infighter, I don't know, right? His categories, as far as I know, these are the only ones he would have: Earthlings, Storied Figures, Otherworld Warriors, and then Tournament Participants. I don't know what other things Olibu would have. He's just kind of a guy in Otherworld. So if you know anything more about the Olibu that I don't happen to know, feel free to share that in the comments down below, and we can talk about that when, in the future. So then we got AZA for AGL Veku. Now, AGL Veku is a weird card, right? Because he has all these nerfs to himself and dumb mechanics. And for some reason, he has not EZA'd yet. So I wanted to EZA him here. His super attack effect, the Lucky Punch, greatly raises defense for 1 turn. And left over from his old kit, he has a high chance to get 100% attack on his super attack effect. He then causes supreme damage and then lowers attack. So, solid super attack effect. His passive skill, Absurd Movements, gives attack and defense 150% at the start of turn. Attack minus 5% with each turn passed, up to 25%. I pretty much just halved what he was already getting here. I just turned it in half because I feel like they wouldn't get rid of it completely, so I would just halved it. So it's not nearly as bad. He gets a medium chance to evade enemies' attacks, including super attack for 5 turns from first appearance. So, 30% dodge for 5 turns is nothing terrible. He reduces damage received by 50%, and he gets a damage reduction rate minus 5% at the start of his next attacking turn. That is every single turn. So he will slowly lose his damage reduction. He gets a medium chance to perform a critical hit when performing a super attack. Again, that's just what he already had, so I didn't feel like changing it. He gets defense and chance to evade enemies' attacks, including super attack, plus 10% per attack received or evaded. That is what I changed from that. And then I upped his defense there up to 100% and left the additional dodge chance up to 50%. So after this guy dodges or receives 5 attacks, he will have basically an 80% chance to dodge for those first 5 turns. So he's like a decent little free-to-play card. He's nothing crazy, but I think he will be helpful with damage reduction, additional defense, and potentially 80% dodge chance for the first couple turns. I feel like in short events, you can definitely make use of this guy, and he is just kind of like another option on the Otherworld Warrior category. Now, do let me know what else you guys would add to a potential Otherworld Warrior celebration here, whether it be Tech Gogeta's EZA, the Int Angel Goku's EZA, or the physical Angel Frieza's EZA, what you guys would add here, what other free-to-play cards you'd want to see in the comments down below. Please let me know how you guys feel about these concepts and if you would summon for them. And that's pretty much it. I think they're pretty good. I like the way they came out. Again, if you have any comments about them, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.